Tonight's Modern Men is powered by the Hero Initiative. Interested in becoming a hero? Go to heroinitiative.org to see how you can be a hero to those comic creators in need. Guys, we're live this week. That's right, we're live with our big Hulk special. We're going to be talking about some of our favorite Hulk moments, Hulk stories, and all that stuff tonight. So I can't wait to talk about the big green gentle giant that is the Incredible Hulk. But there is one guy here. You don't like him when he's angry, especially his beard. He'll come and attack you. Andy, how you doing today? How's the beard?
Oh, doing well. The beard's doing about as good as it can. Unless you make it angry, then it's going to Hulk out.
And here's a guy who loves to talk about duality and all that fun stuff. DruManchu, baby. Drew, how you doing?
Look, the mirror has two reflections, all right? That's all I want to tell you right now. And my dark side is waiting to escape through the green door. I can't wait to get into this one, guys.
Hey, dark side is, man. Oh, wait, that's the wrong book. But anyway, before we tackle the Immortal Hulk that you guys voted for, we have an issue with our poll because we haven't even created a poll yet. So if you guys are watching this toward the end of the show, I'm going to ask the live chat for suggestions on what we should read week 57 of Modern Men. So think about your pick now, and then when we open it up at the end of the show, I want to hear what you guys want us to read, and we'll go ahead and put them in the community tab poll on the Comic Core YouTube channel. But speaking of the chat, let's run over the chat and say hi to who we got here. We got Ricky Markstat. He says, hello, everyone. If you're not first, you're last. I love all the gimmicks, man. You got the Markstat 69 going. You got some Ricky Bobby in there. You got to love it. We got Armenio Reyes Jr. What is going on, Armenio? And, of course, right from Japan, we got K Titus. What is going on, K Titus?
Samurai Ken, what's up, brother?
Some deadbeat robot. I don't know.
Hey, I ain't on the robots.
Who someone gave him a wrench and he doesn't do anything. But anyway, we got
like
the Immortal
Chris
Hulk.
Barrett. Where's Chris Barrett?
And bad news, man. That's bad news right there. But
at least the Stream Elements bot is running. Our Chris Barrett is on the fritz.
So before I ask Andy his first impressions of the Immortal Hulk and give you guys my first impressions, Drew, I need to figure out what in the world is the Immortal Hulk about. Why did he get shot by Clint Barton, a.k.a. Hawkeye? What is going on with the Hulk, man?
Man, the Hulk, what a story the Hulk has had. After Secret Wars, Hulk was kind of null and void, right? Banner's Gamma was gone. How was it gone? It was absorbed by Amadeus Cho, who became the totally awesome Hulk, a run that I very much enjoyed, but a lot of really, really big Hulk fans did not find that enjoyable. So they kind of were like, you know what, we're going to stick with this guy for a while. So in Civil War II, Barton was hired, basically, was sourced out by Banner to kill him if he ever Hulked down again. He said that the Hulk was gone, but if he ever Hulked down again, put him down, and he gave him a gamma arrow with which to do it with. It was the big crux of the whole event because this Inhuman that could tell the future, basically the Minority Report of the Marvel Universe, said that the Hulk was going to kill absolutely everybody. So what did they do? Well, they found Banner hidden in a lab somewhere, and they brought all the Avengers there like that wasn't going to trigger him. Apparently it didn't trigger him, but it did trigger him because Clint saw a glimmer of fucking green in his eye and said, I'm taking this bad boy down. Gamma arrow to the head. Bruce Banner's dead. Big point of argument between Tony and Carol in Civil War II. Bam, we get No Surrender, where the Challenger, who's like one of these big collector type entities, in the Marvel universe. You got the Grandmaster, you got the Collector, you got the Gardener. Now you got the Challenger. The Challenger likes to play games. He basically creates this challenge where you got the Black Order fighting the Avengers. And the Challenger had one piece off the board that he wanted to bring back, and he brought back the Hulk. So the Hulk came back in No Surrender. And this is the story of how the Hulk is now the new Hulk status quo. Elders of the Universe, thank you, Howler Mouse, for the words that escaped me. I really very much enjoyed the Hulk in that book, No Surrender, when he came back from the dead and was a little bit meaner and a little bit greener, if you can believe that. And this story of the new Hulk status quo is very, very enjoyable for me. I've been reading it since it launched. I was a day one Immortal Hulk reader, and it got a lot of hype on this first volume, which built its subscriber base. But I think that it's been better as it's gone along. And I think going back, we're going to see why this story started out a little bit slow on the sales charts.
All right, thank you for that recap, Drew, because it's been, since 2016, 2017, since the storyline originally kicked in with Civil War II and Avengers No Surrender, I believe. So it has been a while since, in comic book terms, I guess. But Andy, I want your honest take on this thing, your first impressions. Did this live up to the kind of pretty big hype of the Immortal Hulk?
The first question I asked myself when reading this book was, what was the hype all about? It was an enjoyable read. Was the hype worth it? I don't know. I mean, the introduction of a new character, I could see that, and I could see the lower print run aspect of it when people weren't on it to begin with. But to be honest, this first volume just didn't do the hype justice, so to speak.
Yeah, Andy, and I know me and you were kind of talking a little bit about it, and I was right there with you. Like, I read it took me a couple tries to even make it through the first issue, but I think once I did, I enjoyed, especially, like, I would say the first 2.5 to 3 issues pretty well, because when I was growing up, my interaction with, the Hulk property had to do with, obviously, Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk TV show. And that's the Hulk I got to know. And I really enjoyed that TV show. I watched it all the time. It was on the Sci-Fi Channel and marathons even, and that's how I got a chance to enjoy that. So I could tell right off the bat, the first few issues were a great tribute to the Bill Bixby, David Bruce Banner, basically. And they even had that reporter Jackie McGee in this Immortal Hulk. Well, obviously that's a throwback to McGee in that show. But yeah, I really enjoyed the format of the first 3 issues, I'd say. And Drew, I know you got some hot takes on that issue 3, but I kind of enjoyed that anthology style storytelling with the Hulk inserted, where you have the Hulk's just put in this situation, a bad situation goes down, and not just Bruce Banner, but the Hulk as well decides to step in and take care of it in that big gamma green giant way he can. So I really enjoyed the first half of this trade, and we'll talk a little bit later about the second half. But Drew, let's get your first impressions on this.
Yeah, I think that when you look at what this story is, you can see the hype come from 3 different directions, really. First of all, it was a celebrated by critics run, right? So like this first arc is very critically lauded. So you get people then go back into it and realize, oh, there's a first appearance of a character in issue number 2 that could be a long time villain. Didn't end up being that way, but that kind of manufactured some hype there. And then you get the fact that this is a very much an overcorrection, in my opinion, from the totally awesome Hulk that people weren't enjoying so much from the perspective of classic Hulk fans. So it's a new direction for the character. It is the first appearance in this first run here. And you also get the fact that the subscription numbers weren't high on this first volume, so it's a literally a lower print run than a lot of the modern keys that we're looking at that are collectible. So you got that Hulk number 2, Immortal Hulk 2 is a hot issue still. It's got legs on it. Who knows why? But there are like the higher ratio variants of that book are legitimately rare to find. So that adds that collectability to it. Just Rican in his comics. Man, you're gonna hit that button. See,
look at that. Yeah, let me get the button. I was on the opposite part of the screen, but we want to thank Rod Justarican and his comics for the wonderful $2 super chat. Once again, that $2 will be going right to the Hero Initiative. So big thank you guys. You know what comes next?
Hey, we're best friends. Let's do karate in the garage. We're gonna do karate in the garage, Rod.
You have your black belt, sir. Thank you so much for the $2 super chat. I appreciate it.
Yeah, back to the Immortal Hulk. I really enjoyed this run. My first impressions of it, though, are the Joe Bennett art has such great detail and is so perfectly laid out in the first 2 issues. It's just a breath of fresh air to me. I think there's a lot of classic suspense horror storytelling going on in the art itself, and I think that Al Ewing is doing a great job kind of rebooting the Hulk to his original mode, which is kind of episodic monster of the week, step by step through the world, man. And this trade has a clear delineation in the middle, and I think that issues 1 and 2 are fantastic. I think that issues 4 and 5 are good in their own way, with kind of a different type of 2-arc story. I think issue number 3 is just a hodgepodge and a mess.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? Like I was prepared to not like issue 3 based on what you were telling me before this and all that stuff. And I understand at times when a book is ongoing and that stuff, you got to give your main artist a break. And Joe Bennett, like I said, especially early on, I think you nailed it. Some great art, especially when they have this theme of like Bruce Banner's out during the day, Hulk's out during the night. When you see the Hulk in these like darker scenes and it's a little bit gritty and then the heavy use of shadows, I really dug that. But yeah, you kind of tell his art it felt just the hair rushed, especially once you get to issue 5. So for some reason they decided he needed issue 3 for a little bit of a break. And they had that story of like, what was it? I think 3 different perspectives. Therefore we get 3 different artists and the 3 art styles, they just did not mesh well. I do agree with that. I did appreciate from a writing standpoint what Al Ewing was trying to do in that issue, though, where the 3 different perspectives definitely had like literally 3 different perspectives and opinions. So like the officer actually really liked the Hulk coming in and busting up the bad guy. And you can kind of see in that art style how there was like this like 40s and 50s art style in it, like an old time superhero comic book. I really dug that. And then you had the older lady who was like a big fan of James Dean. So she thought this person looked like a green James Dean, but that's like the art style I thought like meshed the worst with the issue. And then they had the pastor who had like, he just saw the devil in this thing. So the art almost looked like Mignola-esque in that scene. So I really did enjoy that part of it. So I really did like what they tried to do with issue 3, but like I said, they had 3 different art styles and they just did not combine for the best experience. It was pretty jarring.
I really much enjoyed each and every piece of issue number 3. I just didn't like the way they came together at all. I think that if the issue was, I don't know. I think that the art styles are all enjoyable in my opinion, but they're not meant to be in the same book in my from where I'm sitting. John said he loved the Underworld stuff a ton, and you start getting into that via that Sasquatch story. And I think that we talked a little bit off air about how it was tough for you to get through a Sasquatch arc.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the payoff for that was worth it.
Which John also asks, is Andy allowed to talk on the show? You bet he is. This isn't that crazy Wednesday show. Andy, I wanted to ask you, man, what did you think of the Sasquatch from Alpha Flight?
I enjoyed that. I'm not very experienced when it comes to Hulk reading, nor am I that very experienced with Alpha Flight either. So it was almost like being greeted by a new character I'd never heard of before, even though I've heard of them, just don't have a lot of experience. And that's what I liked about this book was it kind of reminded me of being a kid again and walking into a shop and grabbing something new I hadn't tried before. This was a great jumping on point for Hulk for me.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I've just never been a big Alpha Flight guy either. It's kind of like the Inhumans for me. Like, I know they exist within this awesome Marvel universe, but I've just never really opened too many of their books and read too much about the characters. Like, I know there's Puck, but if I had to, do any other trivia stuff on Alpha Flight, I would fail miserably. So I saw Sasquatch, like, this is pretty much like I know not too much else about the character, and I just saw like this weird, creepy dude. He like every time you saw him talk to McGee, he was always standing really close to her with this weird smile on his face. It's like, what a creep this guy is. But then you see him, unleash that gamma demon, and then that's when at least issue 5 got pretty good for me as well. So, Drew, what did you think about the interaction between Sasquatch and Hulk?
I love Sasquatch. He's kind of like frat boy Hulk, and I think that's kind of what Banner resents about him, and that's kind of what the Hulk resents about Sasquatch, and the way that they clash. I loved those fight scenes. I thought they were great. And then without getting too far into spoilery territory, it's not Sasquatch. It is a different character altogether who has hijacked Sasquatch's gamma personality via the Green Door, and this story gets turned on its head in the next couple of volumes, and in a way that it really just doesn't pay off in the first volume, going back and rereading it.
All right, we got a few pretty solid opinions in the chat here, so I want to go ahead and get into these. We got Howler Mouse, first of all. Thank you for the comment, man. He says, you guys are making me feel better. I couldn't see why the book was hyped up. I just thought it was a solid comic book, and I hadn't seen Marvel put out in forever. Yeah, I couldn't agree with that statement more. That's pretty much exactly how I felt after reading this trade. Gore Vidal, what's going on, man? Thank you for the comment here. He says, what I liked about the first Immortal Hulk issues was the menacing aspect of the Hulk. It reminded me of the first issues by Kirby, where the Hulk is a monster with dark intentions toward Betty. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I really enjoyed especially that first issue, when you see like the biker gang and that stuff with how they treat the Hulk, and then all of a sudden you're confronted with that killer from the gas station, the Hulk, and the Hulk actually starts to talk to him. And he seems like he's just a cold, calculated killer at that point with a conscience. So that's almost more scary than like just a menacing, thoughtless monster Hulk. Like he wanted to get he hunted this guy down specifically and wanted to break every bone in his body for killing that kid in the gas station.
Got a couple of really great comments here. William Bird says Alpha Flight done by Byrne is awesome, 1-28. Completely agree. There's a lot of really good Alpha Flight in the back end of that run too. It's a lot of fun, worth checking out. And Howler Mouse thinks this Hulk was an aspect of Hulk from the Paul Jenkins run called the Devil Hulk. Actually, no. Immortal Hulk is kind of Hulk at present. So he's the amalgamation of every Hulk experience to this point. He is there are so many different aspects of the different Hulks within him that you get to explore every single one of those throughout this run, and Devil Hulk is definitely seen later on in the run as well. So there's definitely more Devil Hulk to be explored later on in this run.
Now, I asked a question earlier to you guys. I presented a question like, why is Hulk immortal now? Why is that being pushed in the title now? And you made a comment that kind of caught me off guard. Is you said they're essentially retconning that now, right?
Well, he's never been able to be dead for long, right? He's been dead before. I think that this is just Al Ewing taking the opportunity with them bringing the Hulk back to tell this story from a perspective where he can tell more dark, gritty horror suspense stories with the Hulk while examining and retconning the entire cosmology of the Hulk. And I think that I really enjoyed what Al Ewing did with Ultimates and Ultimates Squared after Secret Wars, where he basically, while nobody else was paying attention in continuity, rebuilt the cosmology of the Marvel universe, from Eternity through, Chaos and Order and all those different big spanning universal, constants throughout the Marvel universe. And I think he's taking the time to do that with the Hulk lore, kind of add a level of mysticism to the whole deal, and connect all of the Gamma characters in a way that's really never been done before.
Yeah, and all I know is I was trying to read this run. I probably randomly picked up issue 12 for whatever reason, and I was so lost. I didn't realize there was this link between all of the Gamma characters that was pretty much established in that Sasquatch battle, and then you have the involvement of the Banner's father somehow, which that's the main crux of what makes me want to read into volume 2 is the whole stuff with the Green Door, and somehow I don't know if it's Banner or just if it's in his mind he's having these awful flashbacks about his father, or if his father is somehow a Gamma entity into himself. But yeah, I would be curious to keep reading into volume 2 to see obviously how that works out. So I do see why people like the Al Ewing Hulk, because of some of the plot threads he puts in early and pays off a year down the line, basically.
He's just got a way of sprinkling extra continuity in between the continuity that's already there in a way that seasons it just to different tastes.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see what they do with McGee. I don't know if she's just a reporter, but I thought that the very last scene with her was a little bit strange, where she was talking about how she was hunting down the Hulk. Is there any clarity you can shed on that, Drew?
Well, I think that McGee's question about how she becomes a Hulk herself, it paints a picture of just how stupid she is as a character, and any bad things that could happen to her in the future would be welcome.
That great, huh?
Well, I like the fact that McGee is kind of following him around in the same way that we had McGee in the TV show. Kind of, oh, what's the deal with this? But I think the fact that she knows what the Hulk is, I think she sees the Hulk differently than he sees himself, for sure. She sees him as a hero. He sees himself as a monster, and maybe he's the worst that he's ever been at this certain point in time. He has this clarity of mind of what he's doing as the Hulk that is genuinely frightening, I would think, from the perspective of any other character around him. Mindless Monster Hulk, you can go this way and he can be mad over here, right? This Hulk, you go over this way, he's going to find where you're going. He's going to be there before you get there. He's going to scare the ever-living shit out of you before he tears you apart and breaks every bone in your body, leaving you alive and wondering in the hospital how terrible a person you may be as you wallow in your own self-pity as you heal ever so slowly from the terrible beating you put upon you.
Yeah, I definitely think the darkest issue was probably that issue 2 that everyone knows and loves now, where you have that doctor who just wanted to use Gamma to basically make him live forever. His main fear was death and nothingness, and especially once you start getting into that panel, it's just solid black, and you see his narration of his fear of death. It is some chilling stuff there. And then it turns out he accidentally kills his son, or does he, I guess. And then Hulk figures all of this out because he's smart too, and he buries the guy alive to show him a worse fate than death. And that was just such a chilling issue. What did you think about that one, Andy?
Yeah, that took me off. It caught me off guard, because then you think about it. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty claustrophobic, so I can't think of many other things worse than to experience that. And if he's got a healing factor, so he took his arms, took his legs, buried him in a hole, covered him up. Do you guys know what the other two skeletons were just in the other side of that boulder that it covered him up? Not quite sure because it looked like he buried him in that cave.
I think it was just more of the bodies that, like, of the people who had stumbled across his gamma ghost figure, and he was just like, "Oh, I gotta kill you, so you can't go tell on me." I really dig kind of the homage in the first 2 issues to some like Silver Age, Golden Age horror comics. Just the way that the layouts are very straightforward, and the way that these stories are just like super creepy and violent and kind of gory, in a way that you haven't seen in mainstream Marvel hero comics, especially recently. I really dig the art and the way that it just creeps you out going through it. But I think that more so than anything, what you were just saying about issue 2, you get that in issue 1 when, it starts off with the amateur stick up guy with the shaky hands ends up shooting a kid, and then ends up shooting Bruce Banner. When he is finally faced with, the consequences of his actions, it's a giant hulking green monster saying that little girl's name, saying this is her name. She was 12 years old. And you hear this guy reason with himself. I'm not a bad guy. Well, I did this, trying to, make excuses for what he did, when he knows his own guilt is eating at him just as much as the Hulk's about to be beating at him. And that's the kind of horror where it's psychological before it's, actual gore. So I dig that. And I think that, that sets the tone really for the way Hulk interacts with the rest of the world throughout this run.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back to the chat because there's a few more good comments here. Once again, Howler Mouse says, not to get off topic, but I'd love to see you guys tackle Hulk Future and Perfect, which I was actually going to talk about a little later once we get into our
Let's put it on the poll
topic. Yeah, absolutely. But the reason I kind of wanted to bring this up as well is like reading the Hulk here in Immortal Hulk was kind of, in my opinion, the closest thing I've read to the Maestro with that reading Hulk Future and Perfect. Basically, there's a lot of Maestro traits here that I could see start to develop with over time. It seems like in Immortal Hulk here, at least Banner and Hulk have this agreement with each other, and they have their relationship. It's at least stable, but I could kind of, it's a matter of time always with those two before it gets unstable and you end up with the Maestro, basically. Gore Vidal once again says it's a good, straightforward horror book. It's not astonishing like more Swamp Thing, but it does take a page from it. But it's an unusual Marvel book like Alan Moore Swamp Thing at that time. Yeah, that's a very good point for sure there. And then Howler Mouse describes what Future and Perfect was, just the 2 prestige minis. So, and he says he'd be available for that show. So, hey, we'll add that part to the poll. You get Howler Mouse if this wins. So I know Great Legend will be voting for that one for sure. But we're almost to the halfway point of this show. So I guess it's about time to give our overall scores for the Immortal Hulk. So, Andy, as usual, I'll go ahead and start with you. What kind of score are you giving the Immortal Hulk?
I'm going with a 9.0 and totally leaving it there with the fact that issue 3 brought it down for me. I could have ripped issue 3 completely out of there and been happy with the read at a 9.6, maybe 9.4, but just I couldn't see how that fit. It just didn't really fit for me. I didn't really pay much attention to the art like I should have. I found myself wanting to skip over it, but forced myself to read it. So I thought it brought it down to a 9.0 for me.
As a physical collector, Andy, I'll have you know that issue 3, while the worst in this first run, has the best cover.
Does have a pretty good cover. What about you, Drew? What are you giving this?
What did I give Long Halloween? 8.8. This is an 8.6. This is it's not as good as the whole run. I think that issue 3 is a big detractor for me from this first trade. I think that it doesn't nearly dig into what makes this run special in the first volume. I think you're going to get a lot more of that in volume 2. Volume 2 has some infighting with Hulk and the Avengers, which is pretty great. Has some facing off with Carol Danvers after she's kind of responsible for the whole incident that led to him taking a gamma arrow to the head. So I enjoyed volume 2 much more than volume 1. I would say don't stop reading this if you enjoyed any parts of it. It does get better, in my opinion. But the first volume here, a bit overhyped, 8.6.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the same board as you guys, except I'm going to go a little bit low with my score. I'm giving it a solid 8.0. Overhyped, my opinion. However, I actually enjoyed the structure of the first 3 issues. The art, not counting in issue 3, because like I said, it was very consistent throughout. Technically 4 artists, because Joe Bennett does pop in at the end. But yeah, like, I could have dug a whole series of just Bruce Banner going around like Bill Bixby and solving one-off crimes, basically, and then having that chilling Hulk looming constantly in the background. Like, I could just imagine him going on a mission, trying to solve it peacefully before the Hulk gets wind of what's going on and solves it in a Hulk way. I could dig a storyline like that all day. However, I can see how that gets kind of stale, and I appreciate Al Ewing having this big continuity storyline with a big green door, what have you, and then introducing the Sasquatch to be like the main crux of how he gets introduced to that. And also, I didn't mention, I enjoyed that part where he basically turns into Shang Tsung, goes, "Your soul is mine," and rips like the Sasquatch gamma entity out of him. That part was pretty cool too. So
give me my own daddy back.
Exactly. So I do appreciate where the story is going. I have a feeling that volume 2 probably is where the whole series gets really good and starts to explain itself from where I tried to read at. But yeah, for the first volume, I'm slowly going to go 8.0 from what I've read. Not too bad, but I was surprised to hear this much hype and to see the fan response in the poll. Yeah, it was just kind of shocking after getting a chance to read it. Had I went into it without seeing the hype, I wonder if that would have changed my opinion on it at all, or if I would have even read past the 2nd or 3rd issue. So who knows? But nonetheless, before we just start talking about some fun we've had with the Hulk in the past, I do want to go ahead and get into the chat. Gore Vidal's talking about if George Perez drew it, he needs to have it. So yeah, man, definitely hunt down Future Imperfect Gore. Go ahead.
I have a question. I'm not sure who this Perez guy is, whoever that is. But Future Imperfect was just reprinted in Marvel Tales Maestro. It's got a beautiful In-Hook Lee cover on it. If you can find that at your LCS, probably still for like $8-9 or whatever those big reprints cost, and that will definitely save you money over chasing down single issues of Future Imperfect, because they have gotten quite pricey recently. And I don't know why, when they're just releasing a $9 reprint of it in a really nice format. It's like one freaking book
a piece.
Yeah,
anyway.
And they used to be $1 a piece, not anymore.
We got William Bird in the chat. Thank you, William. He says, since back during the 80s Bill Mantle run, Hulk can get stale really quick without interesting supporting characters or innovative storylines. I've been interested in checking this run out. Yeah, William, I think, based on that, you'd probably enjoy the run just because they give you enough of each aspect of the Hulk. They basically just pick the best parts and then throw them all together into a blender. So I think it's probably going to get a lot better than what we've read. Gore says he has a handful of Mantle books that he enjoyed, especially when MODOK shows up. Hallermouth says those Peter David years just so hard for a creative team to get out from under the shadow. So it's the way of Immortal Hulk, maybe a success. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, because I was kind of thinking, going into our next topic here of like, what Hulk books will we bring up and talk about? Because it's not really it's kind of a short list, actually, in my opinion.
I actually have a long list of Hulk books.
So I'm glad you do, because I don't. So Chris Barrett says, Lou Ferrigno, welcome to the chat, Chris Barrett. And everyone's talking about Bill Manslow's run and all that good stuff. So thank you guys. And we still got Hermanio Reyes Jr. He says, like Andy, I give it a 9.0. It keeps getting better and better. So, all right. So
wait. We can't just go past this one here.
Okay.
Look, I'll have you know that in every single student-teacher relationship, eventually the student becomes the master, and that happened right in the middle of a little thing called the Infinity Gauntlet, and that was a long time ago.
I think he means it as a compliment, Drew. Ron Lim's a pretty good artist.
Ron Lim's a great artist. George Perez is a guy I've never heard of.
Anyway, let's get to our main topic here. So, of course,
I gotta stay on brand.
The Immortal Hulk. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite Hulk reads. And right off the bat, I want to go back to William Byrd in the chat because he just mentioned like two of my all-time favorite Hulk reads. And one of them is how this story we kind of thought was underrated. One of these is vastly underrated, in my opinion. And that is Hulk the End. I love Hulk the End. It's when I got back in the comics, I ventured into this comic shop and I just thought the end concept was kind of neat. It's basically like when a character, or like they're basically doing it for like the Marvel Universe. I think they did it for Punisher, so on and so forth. It's basically like the last story with this character with an iconic team. So of course for the Hulk, they pulled Peter David and Del Keown to tell one last Hulk story, basically. And that's what they did. And this is before everything had to be a 6-issue miniseries with the end stuff. They just made one big prestige format book. That's all they did, is just one book. And you get to see Hulk at the very end of Earth, basically. All the other heroes have been killed off. They're all dead. And the only thing left is like radiation and giant bugs. And the voice in Bruce Banner's head, the Hulk, and the voice in the Hulk's head, Bruce Banner. And you can just take the rest from there. It's a really good read, and I highly recommend it. And of course, Future Imperfect keeps coming up in the chat as well. So those are two books. So before we get to Drew's big old list, Andy, what does the Hulk mean to you?
Unfortunately, not a whole lot. I'm sitting here Googling, trying to remember the Punisher Hulk miniseries I read years ago. I didn't read Hulk growing up. I didn't have Hulk anything, unfortunately. I'm probably, doing a disservice to myself by not reading it, because it seems like I've missed out on quite a bit. In fact, this is probably the first Hulk read that I've had in the last decade.
Wow.
To be honest with you.
And of course, before Drew goes, I do want to mention Incredible Hulk 340 with that iconic cover with Wolverine with the claws, and you see Hulk's reflection. That is an actually pretty solid issue where you get to see those two fight it out. And it has the Podfather, absolutely. And then later, they would turn that into an Ultimate Comics miniseries, basically. And that end where Wolverine gets ripped in half, and you have to see Wolverine crawling across Canada with no legs.
And Damon Lindelof left us hanging for like 4 years on that final issue.
Yes, he did. It was a solid run up until
teasing us, giving us the dick tease at the end of Lost.
That's right. Yeah, it's like all of a sudden, it's like, oh yeah, I have a 6-series TV show I need to work on. But Drew, go ahead with your list, bud.
Man, I really like 80s Hulk. I like the Peter David stuff in the 90s. Really love Future Imperfect. I think that's great. The Planet Hulk stuff is so amazing. The World War Hulk stuff is so amazing. It's that stuff just really runs into Hulk being too much to handle in a really great way. Then you get the Marvel Now stuff, which I really enjoyed. The Hulk as like he was like an agent of time, or what he was doing, this time jumping, like fighting time traveler, time master dude thing. And the art was really good. The book wasn't as great. Ends with Maria Hill putting a bullet in the back of Bruce Banner's head. He becomes, then you get Hulk, which is all about who shot Bruce Banner. So for like 6 issues, you got to figure out what's going on with who shot Bruce Banner. He's basically retarded with a bullet lodged in his head, and Iron Man comes and puts Extremis in his brain, and he turns into Doc Green, which is the smartest smart Hulk has ever been. And he realizes that Gamma is a curse. He spends the whole run going to all the new Gamma creations that have been created all along the way: Abomination, Red She-Hulk, the Agents of Smash, the A-Bomb, and basically degammatizing all of them, takes all their gamma away. Then you get Secret Wars, and there's Planet Hulks, which is a great Hulk story about like a Captain America Hulk. It's badass. Then there's you get back out of Secret Wars, and you get the Hulk is basically gives all of his gamma to Amadeus Cho, and you get Amadeus Cho being young hip Hulk, which is actually a lot of freaking fun. Then he goes through the Planet Hulk thing. He does the World War Hulk thing, and he's super smart. So you're getting him smashing things like his action scenes are akin to the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where like he sees an equation in his head and like he gets his hand in the right position to use physics to break the guy's face. It's so amazing. You see the physics in his head as he's like holding a bridge up and shit. Really good stuff. Then he became Brawn, and that sucked. We got Dead Hulk, which was like the best part of Civil War II. Outside of the Captain America Easter eggs that he was going to break bad, and then you get this incredible run by Al Ewing where he's basically grabbed every piece of Hulk history and used it in one way, shape, or form. I mean, you're talking about later on there are situations where like Red She-Hulk is having a conversation with Bruce Banner and Joe Fixit at the same time as the Hulk is having issues with the Planet Hulk in his head. So it's like, what the hell's even going on with all these Hulks? Every bit of Hulk is in this fucking book. It's so good, in my opinion. I just think that the fact that the first volume doesn't stack up is surprising to me going back to it.
Yeah, another Hulk read I just thought of while you were talking, and I just got a chance to review it with my friend Mike on the Comics of the Atom podcast, and that's from the Ultimates. There's a lot of good Hulk stuff from that first volume run of the Ultimates. Like, first off, I just like the way they kind of present Bruce Banner. He's a little different. He's not as handsome as he normally would be drawn in some of the Marvel comics. He kind of reminds me more of Steve Buscemi, which is really funny when he tries to hook up with, other ladies. He just comes off as this like cretinous, cocky jerk, basically, because he does have that doctorate and all the gamma technology and stuff. So he has a little bit of chip on his shoulder when it comes to his actual work, but just how he has to interact with the Ultimates and how he is as the Hulk, like he turns into the villain for the first whole arc of the series, where he ends up attacking New York because Betty Ross goes on a date with Freddie Prinze Jr. And the Ultimates have to stop him, and he always just annihilates Hank Pym in the most hilarious ways too, which he's a jerk in that series, so it's very satisfying. But he redeems himself toward the very end, where Cap just calls him back in because they're actually losing their battle against the Chitauri aliens in that. And of course, what do? They just throw him out of the helicopter like normal, let Banner hit the ground and basically die so he can raise his back up as the Hulk. And he literally eats a Chitauri alive to win the battle. It's pretty hilarious. So I definitely enjoyed that. But I mean, my interaction, like I said earlier, my main interaction with getting to know the Hulk as a kid was through the Bill Bixby series. Like, my dad really liked it when he was in college. It was around the 70s. So when it aired on Sci-Fi, my whole household had to watch it. We watched like 3 or 4 episodes in a row one night. And the other funny story about me and my dad and the Hulk was we're at a Wizard World in Chicago. It was my dad's first time going to a con ever. And we stay at the same hotel as Lou Ferrigno. And he doesn't hear too well and all that stuff. So, and we kind of knew this, but we got in the elevator. It was me, my dad, my brother. And floor stops on like the 10th floor or whatever. Who gets in? It's Lou Ferrigno. He basically takes up the whole elevator. So, yeah, we got to do an elevator ride with Lou Ferrigno and then wait in line to check out and see him get mad that they charged him for drinks he didn't take out of the mini fridge because he just took the bottles out, put something in the fridge, and they tried to overcharge him. And my dad was like, that was awesome. So that made his single con experience seeing Lou Ferrigno in an elevator, then in line at reception.
That's such a normal human being thing to deal with. And then that's hilarious.
All I know is they didn't like him when he was angry. So, yeah, Lou Ferrigno, man. That guy used to go to every single con.
Yep. Yeah.
Drew, did you ever get a chance to catch that show?
Oh, yeah, all the time, man. I enjoyed that show. I also really enjoyed the terrible Hulk cartoon from the 90s.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
It's on Disney Plus if you guys want to watch it.
Probably good.
Yeah, I also liked Hulk Agents of Smash, that terrible cartoon for Disney Plus or Disney XD or whatever. I thought it was, it was fun enough for me to get some more Hulk on a regular basis. But I've always loved the Hulk as a character in the books, man, and I think that there were some early 2000 runs where Hulk was basically a cover by book because the interiors were so terrible, the stories were just awful, and the covers were just really amazing.
Yeah, there was that one swipe cover. Who did it? Like Carrie Andrews, maybe. I can't remember. They did have some good covers, and occasionally you get some Romita Jr.
The Frazetta cover with it's the Molly Hatchet album cover with the Hulk on it.
Oh yeah,
that one's good. There's a lot of good ones. There's the what's it called? Where the Wild Things Are. Homage.
Oh, that's right. Yep, that was all around the same time.
Yeah, all around the same run. Just a character that's the art is always fun on. Like even like Heroes Reborn, like Onslaught era Hulk that just looked silly. Like that, it was just still fun. It's just so much fun to see Hulk show up in those issues and those big battles, and the Dale Keown Hulk is just like so much fun to read just because of how beautiful the pages are. Just so many great memories about Hulk all around. John Byrne is definitely a fantastic Hulk artist as well. And we've gotten a lot of different takes on this Immortal Hulk run throughout. That there's been a lot of really good artists, and it's not only the Joe Bennett stuff.
Nice.
That's decent. So there's definitely some good stuff throughout.
Yeah, and it's a good character too when you can get Alex Ross on the book that long time, because I feel like Alex Ross is at the point of his career where he only wants to draw characters he really loves. And he's been doing a lot of Captain America and then Hulk in the last 4 years or so. So
right, well, he did that whole Amazing Spider-Man run that's kind of like watered down his brand for a while there.
I agree,
and I think that a lot of those covers were very similar to each other and boring in a way that you don't expect Alex Ross to be boring. But I think that he's really kind of gone out of his way to flex his creative muscles on these Hulk covers.
Mm-hmm. Another favorite Hulk read I just did as part of my October reads on my channel was Marvel Zombies issue #1, where of course, they all get turned into zombies, but you have that awful part where Hulk eats Magneto basically, and they're all full because they've been, he does the whole Rhodes thing from Day of the Dead where he's like, choke on him, and Banner almost nearly succeeds in that. When he's Hulk, he has his belly full of Magneto, and he's full. He's not angry anymore. So what happens? He turns back into Bruce Banner, and Bruce Banner still has Magneto in his stomach. So then you finally see like the femur bone just explode through his sternum, and it's absolutely hilarious.
I think we glossed over how great for comics the Red Hulk run was.
That's true. Yeah.
Like that was Jeff Loeb and
Ed McGuinness.
And what a team. That really came together well.
Yeah, I just remember like those were some good covers too. I didn't get a chance to read too much of the General Ross Hulk, but I remember especially those first
spoiler
issues
alert.
Were beautiful. They've had like 10 years plus. Come on.
You know what I like?
Andy.
You know what Hulk I really enjoyed was the mustachioed Red Hulk from US Avengers. And he was just some other dude who like could Hulk out as Red Hulk for like a limited period of time. That's pretty cool.
So let me ask Andy, since we've been talking about some of our favorite reads, I know you've probably been reading the chat and getting some of your own ideas as well. What are some Hulk reads you would like to read or have thought about reading at some point?
Dude, I'm glad you asked. How about some Old Man Hulk?
Oh, okay.
I mean, come on, with everything that's been going on the last couple of years, why not? That would be interesting reading from my perspective.
You know what? We're
kind of getting that with the Maestro run right now.
That's true. That is kind of like the closest thing to Old Man Hulk.
Maestro, yeah, because Maestro is the character in Future Imperfect, right? And right now, the Maestro series, which is like 3 issues in, is all about his turn from waking up as the Hulk and turning into the Maestro. So Chris Barrett says, what about Defenders Hulk? I think that's actually a really good point. Hulk is part of a team, has always been cool, and he was on the Avengers for a little bit, for a second there, and then he was on the Defenders, and it was cool to see him interacting with Doctor Strange. I like my Hulk in the new Fantastic Four. That's what I'm saying.
Well, 2 notes on the old man Hulk. Number 1, once again, I reference Hulk the End. You won't get an older Hulk than that for sure. And then secondly, I was going to talk about the Hulk family from Old Man Logan, the inbred hillbilly Hills Have Eyes version of the Hulks.
That's what made me think of that.
So, yeah, those are some messed up ones. Any other ones, Andy?
That's the first thing that comes to my mind. At this point, I'm so devoid of Hulk reading that I got a lot of catching up to do, which is why, once again, I'm very appreciative of being a part of this show, is I'm reading a lot of stuff that I would never buy off the shelf necessarily, and this kind of puts me out of my comfort zone and trying new things every week.
Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get into the chat. Let's see what the chat thinks about the Hulk. I know Glitter and Duct Tape and Chris Barrett, they love them some Defenders and some Hulk together. Looks like there's some chatter about Silver Surfer as well. Gore Vidal says, John Byrne, like mentioned, drew a great Silver Surfer. I still have my Fantastic Four Byrne books, and that Silver Surfer one's awesome. That's why Lim's disappointed me with the Red Silver Surfer.
John Byrne is a great Silver Surfer artist. He is the second best Silver Surfer artist after Ron Lim. Number 3 is Mobius. And number 4 is Allred, for sure.
That's a good top 4 artist, though.
Number 5 is Trad Moore, because that Silver Surfer Black is not orthodox in any sort of way, but it is fantastic.
And then Gore Vidal, he keeps talking about Richard Corbin. I still need to read my Richard Corbin Ninja Turtles too, Gore. That's on my reading list as well. We got Chaos and Comics. What's going on, man? How you doing? Howler Mouse still hanging out in the chat. Armanio Reyes Jr. been hanging out the whole time. Thank you guys so much. And then William Bird, once again, Buscema, Silver Surfer. And then Armenia loves them some Hulk 2099.
Oh, 2099 is great.
Nice.
You know what? I really hope that the DC Future State stuff is like really like DC 2099, where it's just like, hey, here's a timeline in the future, and here's how everything went to shit and came back together, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. I hope that that's the way they look at that stuff. The future of the DC universe should be very 2099 like.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm unfortunately expecting more of like post-metal, where we got some cool books that lasted like one run, or no one bought them at all. So,
all those books were terrible. All those.
I still want to read the Terrific
New Age of Heroes or whatever. The thing about the Terrifics that really upset me is that like it was like Jeff Lemire is writing this Terrifics book or whatever, and I was like, oh, cool. By issue 2, it's like story by Jeff Lemire, and like here's the real guys who wrote it. Like, oh well, fuck.
All right, so we're pretty much at the end of the show here, so it's time for the chat. We need some help here, guys. Week 57, we haven't came up with anything for this poll, so we're gonna open that up. Suggestions to you guys. We're going to pick the best, well, let's just say the best 4 suggestions from the chat, because we still have to pick Hulk, Future, and Perfect. That's going first on this list here. So I'm going to type that in here. So if you guys want to start putting your suggestions into the chat, and then Drew and Andy, if you guys got any input or anything, go for it.
All new Wolverine, Tom Taylor.
Star Wars Kanan from Chris Barrett, actually. I'm kind of interested. I haven't read that.
Kanan the Last Padawan. Good run.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got Hulk, Future, and Perfect. If Chris Barrett put is it Kanan? K-A-N-A-N?
K-A-N-A-N, the Last Padawan. William Bird with 1602.
Ooh, that's going in. Okay. I like that. Neil Gaiman, Marvel Universe.
Let's see.
Andy, I want a beard versus beard bet you on something.
Ooh, as long as we don't shave him in the end.
Please shave
one of us
November.
would have to shave. But we can't do it until December.
I never bet on the beard.
Be cold for Christmas.
Ooh, no.
Well, we'll call it cold for Christmas.
It's already cold up here.
It will be great branding.
All right, I see. I don't know if you like Gore Vidal's one, Drew. Jamie Delano's Hellblazer.
Put it on there. If it wins,
Oh, okay.
My
if
face
he
will be
dies,
awkward.
he dies.
You just want to see it lose, don't you? So you
I
can
don't wanna die.
silence it once and for all.
I've never read it. I just
How
know
much-
that.
And I
I
think
look, he might
Tyler
have started
have
out
the
as a
last one.
fantastic character, but he's just
Yeah, we're
not
going
anymore.
for that. We've actually already read Planetary, guys.
Yeah, we
I
did
can't
read
remember which
Planetary.
we visited that. It was a previous episode. I can't remember which one, but I'm actually going to go for Howler's other suggestion, James Robinson's Starman. I have never read that, and I've always wanted to. So that'll be the 5th pick here. So we'll recap here in a second if you guys want to keep filibustering while I type.
How much facial frostbite can I survive? Probably none. So I can't bet on the beard.
Look, Andy, I didn't know that you were chicken.
I lay
So-
eggs every minute.
Here's the official poll for week 57. So in 2 weeks, we may be reading Hulk Future Imperfect. And I believe that was Peter David and George Perez.
Who?
Kanan, The Last Padawan. I don't even know who worked on that book, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I'm just going to leave it at that. 1602 by Neil Gaiman. Hellblazer by Jamie Delano. And Starman by James Robinson. I am hitting post right now on that. So go ahead, go to youtube.com/comicore/community, and you guys can vote on that community tab right now.
Perfect. I will reserve my vote till the very last second. And as I procrastinate throughout the day tomorrow and wait until I could wait no longer, and then I panically run into the voting booth and then voting jokes tomorrow. Get it? No?
Chicken.
Right. Cool.
I voted already.
Yeah, definitely don't forget to vote, guys. For the love of God, please go vote tomorrow. But anyway, we're at the end of our show. Big thanks to the chat for joining us. Andy, where can people find you besides the voting booth tomorrow?
Right in this chair where I normally like to live when I'm not actually working. So you guys can find me on Monday Night's Modern Men here. You guys can find me on occasionally the Wednesday show. You guys can find me on my own channel where I tinker with other projects that I'm learning how to edit and learning how to use audio and stuff like that. And you guys can find me. You just do that little @ symbol, ComicManAndy. You'll find me anywhere.
What about you, Drew? Where can people find you?
You can find me in a club with a bottle full of bub. Wait, that's 50 Cent. You can find me here occasionally. Maybe I'll be here on Thursday. Here, Andy quit, so
What?
to my show now.
And then, Drew, you want to talk about next week? Because next week, I might have to let you host this one, man. I guess it's going to be a big one.
All right. Yeah.
It's the X-Men special part 2.
Yeah. We're going to go and delve into a 2-part series. Yes, a 2-part series. A break for everybody. We're going to be reading Days of Future Past. Really great Kitty Pryde story. The first of the X-Men dystopian future stories. Set the tone for a lot of things to come. Beautiful, beautiful issues, man. Can't wait to talk about it.
That's issue 144 and 145, or am I close? I can't remember.
It's isn't it 140, 141?
140, 141. Yep. Okay.
I don't know. 141, 142? I don't know.
Let's see. I have it on the wall. 141, 142. Yes.
There you go.
141 has the iconic cover of all the X-Men. One of the posters were all
142 is the Wolverine blown away.
And then, yeah, everybody dies this issue.
Yep.
Sorry, I was trying to look for the link on that.
Get them in your single issues. You know, put in some work on investing in those, or read them on Marvel Unlimited.
All right, guys. Well, you can find me on youtube.com/cwoodard19. Tomorrow I'll be doing my big 500 subscriber giveaway / fun 500 subscriber celebration. Or there's probably going to be some live giveaways as well. So if you guys like free comics, stop on by and say hi. See what happens with all that fun stuff. Also, we'll be back, like I said, next Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern with Modern Men, X-Men Special Part 2. This Friday, we'll be live at the Comic Core Roundtable. I'm sure we'll have plenty of shenanigans planned. Well, not planned, but there will be shenanigans, I'm sure, this Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern. And, I think next week next Tuesday on my channel, Andy and I will be back for Turtle Talk Tuesday. What is it? Volumes 8 and 9 of TMNT now? We're steamrolling right along on that one.
I think you're correct. 8 and 9.
That's right. So, yeah, Turtle Tuesday still going on over there. But, yeah, that's what I got going on. And big thank you guys for joining us. And until next time.
Hey, before we get out of here, I just want to one more very, very important thing. We still have 10 people watching. Tomorrow is election day. Could be one of the most important elections of your life if you're about to die, or if it's the first election you're voting in, or if, blah, 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 blah. Just like go and vote for something other than Hellblazer, because I don't want to read that shit.
Oh, man.
Zing!
Go vote.